Okay, we're good to go. Crystal, we're good to go.
Perfect, thank you. So welcome everybody to our meeting this afternoon. I think we're ready to get started. First on our agenda is the adoption of today's agenda. So that was circulated prior to the meeting. If anyone has any additions, you can make them. Otherwise, we will have a motion to accept the agenda. Made by Norm, seconded by Councillor Elmsley. Thank you. 2.2, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest today? Seeing none. 2.3 is the adoption of the minutes from our last meeting. They were circulated with the agenda. So hopefully you've had a chance to review them. And if there's no errors or omissions, we'll have a motion to accept the minutes from May. Linda, thank you. Seconder, Diane, thank you very much. And all in favor? Perfect. We don't have any presentations this afternoon or correspondence. So I think we're right down to number 5, and we will let Barb give us her update, please.
Well, most of my, I guess are part of the public awareness working group and the, public spaces working group. Again, like I've been working on some management directives. I've been reviewing the legislation, or at least the standards that are being developed, under health and education. And I shared it with the group, and it is available towards the end under other business of this agenda. And I can provide a bit of an update from planning when it comes to the public spaces working group. And otherwise, I would just turn it back to the next item on the agenda at this point.
Okay, thank you, Barb. So we'll move to Elizabeth and an update for public awareness.
The biggest thing, of course, was our accessibility awards, which were all virtual, but I think they went over well. We were able to present the awards to the various winners prior to the award ceremony, from socially distanced, everything. And I know the ones that I delivered, they were just so happy and so honored to receive the awards. So it went over well. And it was on YouTube, and from what I heard from a number of people that they watched the ceremony and it went over very well. So I think that's our biggest thing. We'll be starting again for next year's awards already very soon. And I think that's all that we have for public awareness at this point.
Thanks for that, Elizabeth. And yeah, I watched it live on YouTube. I thought it was a really nice presentation. And thank you to Elizabeth and Barb, Councillor Emsley and Diane for the time you spent volunteering, delivering awards, and getting things organized. I think it was, it went over really well, especially for a virtual event. So I was very happy with it. And I think others were too, which is great. So 5.3 public spaces. I know, Barb, you had something to add for that.
Yeah, so Andre is not here, unfortunately, but he has provided comments back on a couple of site plans, I believe. One of them is from Bob Cajun, and the other from Fenlon, I believe, and one in Lindsay. And again, he's making second submission comments at this point on 3 different developments that are proposed, and not getting too far with his comments. I have reached out to Richard Hawley to ask for an appointment, a meeting, which I've yet been able to to arrange, but I'm sure that we will in the coming months. Richard did actually, he must have spoken to Ian from planning, and he's reached out to me He's talked to me about the site plan guideline that developers are provided with, and especially the accessible parking component. He is going to be looking at that. He's been asked to look at it and asked to integrate the accessibility regulations for the design of public spaces within that piece. So, and he's going to circulate it back to me for comments afterwards. So I know that that is in the works. So that's very positive. And I know that planning is like they're understaffed at the moment, and Richard Hawley is acting director and a very, very busy gentleman. So we just have to be patient, and I know eventually I'll hear back and an appointment will be made. So that's basically it. It is kind of like we had the conversation last meeting about the concern. Oh, there's Andre now of developers not really wanting to do more than the building code. I did a little bit of research online as far as the directorate is concerned, and I was searching down like the standards development team for the design of public spaces, and it's non-existent at the moment. So I guess they put these things in place, and then the task force, so be it, in the development of those standards then is closed. I think what they're trying to do is integrate it into planning to look after and into the Ontario Building Code to look after. And I do believe that the directorate is without a director at the moment because Mary, who I used to have contact with, is now higher up in the legislature as deputy minister associated with accessibility and seniors. So I really don't have contact with Mary the same, and the same responses are not coming back from Mary. So I have to wait until someone's appointed to that seat. And I do have a meeting to go to with the region of Durham next week, and I'll ask those questions. Like it's an accessibility coordinators group, and I'll ask that question of them as to, you know, what can we do, you know, in this particular circumstance. So. Andre, I don't know if you have anything else to add. I just said that you have submitted on at least 2 second submissions recently, and we're hoping that we're going to be heard. But you know, you're trying hard to make it happen. So I can let Andre speak if he has anything that he'd like to include.
Well, regarding, I missed some of the, sorry, I missed some of your, in the first part, but we have provided some submissions to the Muskoka DNM second submission, as well as the Port 32 Inc. submission. And both of them tried our best just to express to them that they need to try to go beyond the building code. And because the building code is minimum standards, very minimum standards. But I understand that they are going to the minimum standards, and even the minimum standards of the parking bylaws. Because now they're even stating stuff like, well, we got, okay, the one for DNM, Muskoka DNM, they have 33 units in their 5-story, well, it's a 5-story building with 4 stories of apartments. So there's 33 units. They have 33 parking spaces in the basement. Well, they call it basement, but it's in the indoor parking. And so I said, well, are you going to have 5? You know, so I'm requesting. This is the second time that I'm requesting for 5 parking spaces to be the closest to the elevator shaft that would be designated as for these 5 units. And they say, well, we have 2 parking spaces outside, and then which are type A's, which is great, but that's also for your visitor parking for whomever needs it, right? So it's public. So then we have it's a problem. So I kind of just emphasize to them, well, this is going to become a problem because really, two of those parking spaces you shouldn't rely on those. So, and they're saying, well, they're following the zoning bylaw. So I don't know, and it's true they are. As well, and then any other submissions? I don't know what else to state. I guess just keep on saying the same thing. I guess, and it's true. They I think we have to go beyond that, as you expressed through council, to try to, and again, council and with other councils of other municipalities, to try to express their feelings that this, somehow we have to increase the AODA, and the AODA is really not strong enough. Nobody's enforcing it. So that's all I have to say.
Elizabeth?
If the parking is a zoning bylaw, then could we not approach council to have them change it because the building code is provincial? We're stymied on that basically, but would we not have a better chance of changing the city bylaw?
That could be an issue that we have to express through the Planning Act, I guess, and through the planning department. I would then discuss that with the councillors at the council meetings and trying to increase that, or because and I think it's the whole revolution of, or even the evolution of where we're trying to provide more barrier-free accessibility, and it's hard to accept that because there's a cost, and there's I think that's it's going to take time, but I think we have to keep on struggling and maybe going through the right channels. And as you said, Elizabeth, talk to council. Maybe council could kind of, but I guess, and I've heard that from other places, is that you start making things too restrictive in your municipality, developers are not going to want to come around. So there's that, there's that catch-22. You got to be, and I'm sure Councillor Elmsley is going to agree with that. You got to be careful.
I am going, yeah, sorry, or Councillor.
That's okay. Andre, I would say that there's got to be a happy medium. And I think if we had something in our parking bylaws that spoke about a number for accessible parking, and as long as it wasn't onerous, and I think that's a conversation when we talk to Richard Hawley to ask his advice on how we might do that. And maybe we would include Aaron Sloan, the manager of bylaw, as well, and get some input on what we might do. Because I think that, five parking spots in 33 is not, doesn't sound to me like being over the top. And I'm sure there's a way of working it out so that, even if, I know you don't like the idea of the two outside, but even if you included the two outside and then three closest to the elevator inside, you might, it might be a step in the right direction. So my thoughts are that we talk to Richard and we talk to Aaron and get their input. And then if they have some bright ideas, we can put it in the form of a report with a motion and take it to council. I'd be quite happy to do that. So.
Thank you so much. That's a great start. I agree.
I think that's a good plan. Now, I also saw that Diane had her hand up.
I have a question that's related to public spaces, but I'm not sure if this is the right place to put it. It's not just to follow up on the same conversation. So you can set me straight if it needs to be somewhere else. But I just wondered, like we have, I'm in Fenland Falls and we just have these, you know, the new 2 blocks have been improved and the new sidewalks and everything. But the stores themselves are not accessible, even though the sidewalks are. So you can get up on the sidewalk, but then I'd say maximum 15% of the stores have, you know, like a 4-inch step that you have to get up. And I'm just wondering, like, is that a bylaw issue? Like if stores did want to do something, are there any bylaws in the way of it? Or is it a city thing that need to bring stores into compliance? Or I'm just wondering where that sits, because it seems kind of frustrating if you can get up on the sidewalk, but then you can't get into very few of the stores.
Thanks, Diane. And that we have had conversations about stopgap and different ramps and things, but I think Councillor Elmsley will address your question.
Thanks, Diane. The contractors are coming back in the fall, and my understanding is that there are going to be ramps up to all the doorways.
Oh, fantastic.
But I've taken a note, and I will talk to our engineering group and make sure that's the case.
Mm-hmm. That's great.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Was there any other comments or questions for the public awareness piece?
Like I said to Crystal, I will follow up, Andre, and I think you might have missed the part where Ian did reach out to me from planning, and he is looking at implementing the design for public spaces from the AODA as far as parking is concerned into the site plan guideline. So there is movement there. So, and he's going to send it to me for review, which I'll share with the group once it comes.
I just want to say something. You know, when we had our last meeting too, we were also suggesting, I just want to show you the way that my house is designed. It's not really designed for accessibility, but what they've done is they put great big throughways, and they've also got a transient around the door. So I think that's what we mean about when we do things that can better suit people so that they don't have to rearrange their homes if they need to add accessibility. With a great big doorway like that, I wouldn't have to break down any walls or anything in order to have somebody with a wheelchair come into my home. The doorway could be adjusted so that I could take out the window at the side. I could put a bigger door in. I think that's more what we're asking builders to do, not so much to build accessible homes, but build homes that can be adjusted to be accessible at minimal costs, but still look attractive if that's not what's going to happen to them. So I think I actually had somebody come into my home that was going to buy one of our homes who has a wife who is actually a user of a wheelchair. And they came in to see what adjustments they could get the builder to do. And all it was taking a wall back a foot, and the big wide doorways and the front door, they just installed a bigger door. So that's all we're asking. I don't think anybody's asking anybody to, everything's got to be accessible homes, but they got to be a cheap reno maybe, or a lift put in order for the whole home to be accessible. So I think that's what we talked about in the last meeting.
Yeah, Andre?
Yes, and that's exactly with Port 32 Inc. They have townhouses. There were all 48 townhouses. And it's so, I started looking at them, and actually they are fantastic townhouses, because they're all designed with the first floor. They have the master bedroom with an ensuite. Then they have a basement it's more like a walkout basements that they have. The basement has another bathroom, a bedroom bath, but the first floor can be so easily adaptable. So I went to that route, and express to them, by providing, there's one little three step that you got to do on the inside, but it's wide enough. So I said, just put a power plug by the stairs so that if somebody needs to put a stair glide lift, easy to do. And then they have a doorway, same as yours, Gigi, and between the to go from the kitchen to the living room. Then you go into the bedroom, and then all you need to do is make sure that the bedroom has a little bigger door, and then it's so easy. And then what their first reply on the first submission is, we will do that if people that are purchasing it want it, which is great. But if they don't, people, and some people that are even say in their 60s, in our age group, my age group, and says, okay, well, we'll buy this, and they think, well, we'll never need this. And then 5-6 years later, something happens, then they wouldn't have it. So I went at it again for the second submission. Hopefully they're gonna understand. And it's not all of the houses, even part of the houses, to be adaptable. That's adaptable and visitable. But hopefully they're gonna understand that. Again, education is gonna have to be another thing that we have to do with them.
I think you're right, Andre. And I think the education for the public too, right? When you're looking for a home, why that might be important, and having the foresight, maybe insight in why you want your house to be visitable or adaptable as you continue to live there. And you never know what might happen to you or family members or friends, and needing those possibilities there for you. Well, I think that's good. I look forward to you guys getting that meeting set up with Richard Hawley and moving forward with that. You can update us. I think we'll move on to 5.4. Councillor Elmsey, your update for us.
Well, I'm not sure how much I have for you. I guess I'll touch on a couple of subjects, and then if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try and answer, or if I don't have the answers, to try and get the answers. I'll talk first. Fenland has finished the first phase of their upgrade, and I have heard several complaints from people, particularly about parking. And one of the complaints about parking was the small parking spaces on the main street, even the ones that are designated as accessible spots. You probably, if you had a large van with one of the lifts in it for a wheelchair, you would be hard pressed to get it in there, because the parking spots are, I'll say, they're modest. The plan is that there are other accessible spots that are larger, but they aren't on the main street. And we are looking at adding parking where the old arena was, and we would have space there for oversized vehicles to park, or for instance, people with boat trailers and people with large RVs and things. It'll be a spot for them to park in, and it's within, a block and a half of the downtown. So I'm not sure if that's problematic or if it is appropriate. But I think that experimenting this summer, we have 2 months to look at the experience in the downtown, and the parking spots are painted lines on concrete, on asphalt. So we can always move the painted lines if it is causing difficulties. So we'll be monitoring that to see how it works, and I'd be interested for feedback if anybody is in Fenelon and has a van with one of the lifts for either a wheelchair or a cart. And I'd be happy to know what your experience is. We have the Pandemic Relief Task Force has pretty much completed their work, and we were able to help a number of organizations throughout the city. And a number of those organizations deal with seniors. And I think that it was a very good move to do what we did, because we have been able to fund some organizations that may otherwise have failed. And I think they provide services and they provide an outlet for not only seniors, but for all manner of citizens. And that includes people with accessibility issues as well. So I think that the initiative we took to look at not only our businesses, but also community organizations was an important step. And I think that we do have some success stories out there where we were able to keep these people afloat so that they will be able to come back once we hit phase 3. From the health unit point of view, they're now fully geared up for vaccines. This is the push is to put as many needles in as many arms as possible in as short a period as possible. We'll try and get everybody vaccinated with both doses as quickly as we can. And I think that, you know, if we're looking for success stories, the way the vaccines have rolled out has been a success story. When you look that, you know, in Ontario, we're at almost 80% of people having their first vaccines, and we're working our way into the 40% for people with both vaccines. And I think it's important, and probably especially important for people who have accessibility issues or who have health issues of any kind, particularly if they have respiratory or problems or anything like that. So I think it's been a real success story, and I just hope that people don't lose their fervor for getting vaccinated with a second shot. I think it would be a shame if we did. And we'll see how we're going to handle the younger folks under age 12 as we go forward, because we're probably at some point in time going to have to include them. And I think it's probably just a matter of time. And then we see where we go with these vaccines. If it's going to be, are we going to need a yearly booster? Is it going to be included with the flu shot? How exactly is it all going to work? And I don't think any of those decisions have been made. I don't know in terms if this group is interested in the finances of the city. We, council made a decision early last year when the pandemic first hit, and we went back to staff and asked them to look at their budgets very closely and only include those things in the budget that were absolutely necessary. And that is exactly what we did. And as a result of that, we ended up the year with a $4.5 million surplus. And when you look at a lot of the other municipalities around us and a lot of municipalities in Ontario, they are in dire straits. They have spent themselves into a hole and tried to do everything. And now they're casting about for how they're going to pay the bills. Whereas we have been prudent. We probably didn't provide as many or as much service in certain areas as we have in the past. But I think it sets us up for the future because I think we all know that both the provincial and federal government don't have any money left. And other than printing more, I don't know what they're going to do, but I suspect that they're going to starve municipalities for grants and funds going into the future. And the fact that we have a little nest egg will allow us to ride out that storm. So I think we've been prudent, and we have made good decisions fiscally. And I don't think that anybody suffered inordinately as a result of any reductions in services that we made. Having said that, I'm hoping that we can get back to normal as quickly as possible and take advantage of the nice weather and take advantage of some of the new parks and recreation areas that have opened up in the city and get people out there doing happy, healthy summer things. So with that, I'll leave it. And if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them. And if I can answer, great. If I can't answer, I'll try and find out the answer.
Andre?
Make a comment regarding it was exceptionally well organized, the exhibition part regarding the giving the shots. For my second shot, there was actually quite a few people in the queue in their vehicles. 20 minutes for us to get into the queue and get out with a 15-minute break of waiting for, you have to wait 15 minutes after. 15 minutes, that's all it took. And fantastic, very well done.
Yeah, I will say Ross Memorial Hospital organized that clinic and did it, and kudos to them. They've done an absolutely phenomenal job. The two other things I'll say, Ross Memorial made a presentation to council yesterday, and they're trying to raise $15 million for various pieces of equipment and change to how they organize their workload within the hospital. And as you may or may not know, senior levels of government do not fund replacement equipment and some new equipment. So it is up to the municipalities to either raise it locally or do whatever they can, or the municipality puts it on the tax bill. But in any event, Ross Memorial, I believe they've already raised $5 million towards their $15 million. So if anyone belongs to an organization or is looking to give a charitable donation to something, I would say look at Ross Memorial Hospital, because it is an institution that serves the municipality very well, and it's in all our best interest to make sure it's healthy and strong and has the equipment it needs. So just a little editorial for Ross Memorial. And thanks, Andre, for pointing that out. I do like to give them credit for organizing that vaccine clinic. I think it was absolutely marvelous. So.
Thank you for that. And I haven't been to the Fenland clinic, but I've heard feedback that it was run really, really well as well, which is great to hear. Was there any other questions or comments for Councillor Emsley? Okay, Seeing none, if I can get a motion to accept updates 5.1 through 5.4. Linda, thank you. Elizabeth seconded, and all in favor. Excellent. So moving to 6.1 and 6.2, Barb had sent the information on the proposed accessibility standards for healthcare and education. And I know because of the timing, I think Barb had suggested that we might not have time to go through it and do recommendations through council, but we're encouraged to each look at it individually and provide feedback. Was there anything else you wanted to speak about to this, Barb?
No, like I think that, the recommendations are clear and they're there, okay, on the website. I don't like to say too much. I've read through them, but it's up to really each individual on the committee. Both of them are expecting a comment back from the public. Well, one's in later July, one's first part of September. I found it interesting that they were closing the comment space by the 2nd or 3rd of September for the education component, when most teachers and students and everybody's on a recess for the summer. So it's I found it upsetting that we weren't given more time to provide comment as a group through council. And but it is what it is. So yes, you're right, Crystal. I'm strongly encouraging each individual, to take a look. And if you do have a comment, please do provide it to through the directorate. Yeah, because otherwise we can't do anything at this point as far as a group is concerned to get it to council.
Diane.
Even though we can't get it to go through council, would it not have more impact if we were to at least have a discussion about it? Are we having an upcoming meeting in the summer? And could we each individually take a look at those two documents and share some comments about it so that we could actually, give some kind of a group statement instead of just individual?
The unfortunate part, though, Diane, is that as an accessibility advisory committee member, advisory's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a group, no, unfortunately, we can't. Not that we can't discuss it, have discussions about it. Like, please do get together, okay, and talk about it. And rally, I mean, it's good to talk about standards that are coming out with other people and to listen to their opinion. That helps formulate your own, right? So please do have the discussions, but unfortunately it has to be from your own personal, not as an AAC member.
I would find it valuable to have at least a discussion about it. I'm happy to respond individually. I'm sure I haven't read them yet. I just got back from holiday, so I haven't read them yet, but I would like to respond, but it would be really helpful to hear what other people say about different aspects that I may not have thought about. So I can be helpful.
Okay, I can certainly arrange like a public awareness working group meeting and a public spaces working group meeting. And I just have to look at everyone's calendar, including my own, to see availability before the first, I think it's the health standards that is expecting comment in July, and the education. Is it August? Okay.
One was the health, I think, was August something, and the other one was September.
Okay, so the education was September, that's right. So the health August. So I'll take a look at the deadline and then try and arrange 2 individual group meetings. I can do that. And we can have discussions about it. But, like as a group, though, we have to comment through council with our advice if we wanted to formulate a group,
Right.
So that's all I was saying, basically. You can discuss it with each other, like through the telephone, through any means. But if you'd like me to organize 2 separate meetings, I can certainly do that.
Okay, that sounds good. Was there any other comments there? No. So on to our next meeting. So we do break for the summer. Barb can take a look at if the working groups want to get together and if the availability works out to talk about the prior piece. But otherwise, our next meeting as a whole will be in September. Do you have the date, Barb? I know it'll get sent out over the summer.
It will get sent out over the summer, and usually it's the third Wednesday of each month, I believe is what we have set, which would be September the 15th.
Perfect.
But we'll take a look at that just to, make sure. Yes, we will. I actually will confirm that in the near future, like within the next week, and then send the meeting request out, and then we'll send the Zoom closer to the date, of course. Okay, if that works for everybody. Okay.
Yep, that's perfect. And then we have the request in our calendar, so
Yeah.
we can hold that time.
Awesome.
All right, well, we're at the end of our agenda. So like I said, we won't meet as a whole for July or August. I wish everyone a great summer, a healthy summer. I think a lot of us are getting close to our 2-dose summer. Got mine last week, so I'm happy about that. We'll get a motion to adjourn, please. Andre, thank you, Diane. And we will see everybody in September. If
Happy
not
Canada-
sooner.
Happy Canada Day, everyone, tomorrow.
Canada Day. Bye, guys.
Bye. Take
Bye.
care.
Have a good
Bye.
summer.
Thanks, everybody.